You've probably heard the new claim: vaping causes a deadly disease called popcorn lung. But do you know how many confirmed cases worldwide are tied to vaping? Only one. One single case shook the whole world. Something feels very wrong. If you open the websites of the biggest tobacco companies, you'll read big promises. Philip Morris, delivering a smoke-free future. Altaria, moving beyond smoking. British American Tobacco, pledged to build a smokeless world. There's a huge lie happening in front of our eyes. Tobacco companies fooled the world before. Now they're doing it again, this time with vaping. And the evidence is hiding in plain sight. Imagine living in a world ruled by giant corporations that have spent over a century controlling people's very breath, selling poison as if it were a lifestyle. Today, those same corporations return with a new promise. We want a smoke-free future. But behind that shiny slogan lies a much darker story. A story of billions moving in the shadows and generations deliberately targeted to remain chained to nicotine. This is where the real story begins. Something very wrong is happening right now. The biggest tobacco companies in the world say they are moving toward a smoke-free future. But what does smoke-free really mean? It doesn't mean freedom from addiction. It means the same addiction continues, just in new packaging. These same corporations also own the world's largest vaping brands. How can they promise no smoke while selling the same poison in a different form? Think about it. Imagine a friend who lied to you every single day for 100 years. One day he says, "From now on, I'll never lie again." Would you trust him? Of course not. That's the same story here. For more than a century, tobacco companies grew rich by lying, selling deadly products as if they were cool and modern. Now they say they want a smoke-free future. Not long ago, the world panicked about a disease called popcorn lungs. A 17-year-old girl ended up in the hospital, struggling to breathe. Doctors discovered she had been secretly vaping for 3 years. The name sounds funny, but the truth is terrifying. The disease damages small air sacs in the lungs. The harm cannot be reversed. Some patients even need lung transplants. The disease was first seen in popcorn factories, caused by a chemical also found in some vape flavors. Media said, "This is the first case from vaping." But actually, a case was reported back in 2019. Why was it ignored then, when social media was louder than ever? Because in every investigation, there's one golden rule: follow the money. When you trace the profits, the lobbying, the acquisitions, you see the darker truth. This was never just about health. It was about billions of dollars crossing borders, shaping laws, and rewriting headlines. Tobacco companies never left nicotine. Cigarettes, vapes, heated sticks, pouches, all of them are just disguises. The goal never changed: keep people addicted. Back in the early 20th century, the first tactic was linking cigarettes to masculinity. Actors and athletes were paid, newspapers flooded with ads, and soldiers in World War I were given free packs. Smoking became a badge of manhood. But half the world was still untapped: women. In 1929, Edward Bernays staged a Torches of Freedom march, where women lit cigarettes as a symbol of liberation. Overnight, women became a new market. Addiction was never sold as a product, it was sold as a story, and that story was recycled again and again. Fast forward to the 21st century. Sleek devices, colorful flavors, and influencers pushing the new trend: vaping. In 2003, the vape was invented. By 2005, it was on shelves, and by 2010, Big Tobacco had joined in. Philip Morris invested in JUUL. British American Tobacco launched Views. Why? Because teens were the perfect prey. In 2019, 27% of US high schoolers reported vaping. That's more than 1 in 4 students. Not by chance, by design. Campaigns used youthful models, Instagram-style ads, and flavors like mango milkshake and cotton candy. The message was clear: vaping isn't just nicotine, it's identity. But teenage brains are still developing. Nicotine hijacks focus, alters memory, and forges addictions that can last decades. Studies show over 90% of adult smokers started before age 26. Hook them young, keep them forever. Big Tobacco's share of vaping remained small, crowded out by cheap Chinese brands. They needed a new battlefield they could dominate. So they introduced the polished slogan, "A world without smoke." But notice, they didn't say a world without nicotine. They pushed heated tobacco products like IQOS and Glow. Closed ecosystems where you buy both the device and the sticks from the same company. In Japan, IQOS captured over 32% of the market, expanded to 76 countries, and generated more than $11 billion in profit, outshining even Marlboro for the first time. Are these products safer? Nobody knows. Long-term studies take decades, but profits are made today. Then came nicotine pouches, tiny flavored bags tucked under the lip. No smoke, no smell, invisible, marketed as clean, but they weren't about quitting. They were about replacing one addiction with another. Teens loved them because they were hidden. Social media amplified the trend. Hashtags, challenges, and even so-called Zinfluencers turned pouches into a cultural wave. By 2024, the global nicotine pouch market had already reached $4 billion, and projections suggest it could surpass $50 billion by 2033. It's not just about the numbers. This dramatic rise shows how a habit once tied to smoke, ash, and an unpleasant smell has been reshaped into small, colorful products, flavored like fruits, easy to hide in a pocket or slip under the lip. But behind this new packaging, the goal hasn't changed. Addiction remains, and profits grow. Look closely at the timing. On April 9th, headlines exploded with warnings about so-called popcorn lungs, sparking fear everywhere. Just 2 weeks later, on April 23rd, Philip Morris proudly announced record profits from Zyn. Fear first, then fortune. It's the oldest trick in the playbook. Create the problem, then sell the solution. In 2019, the United States faced a crisis called a valley. Thousands were hospitalized, and dozens lost their lives. The media repeated the same line, vaping kills, but the reality was different. Most cases weren't caused by nicotine vapes at all. They came from black market THC cartridges laced with vitamin E acetate. That crucial detail disappeared in the noise. People were left believing vaping itself meant death. And who stepped in with safer alternatives? The very same corporations, this time with heated tobacco and nicotine pouches. These companies didn't stop at selling products. They also funded organizations with names designed to inspire trust, like the Foundation for a Smoke-Free World. Names that sounded noble, as if they were working for public health. But the World Health Organization refused to cooperate, declaring it a clear conflict of interest. Meanwhile, social media became the most powerful marketing tool of all. TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, sleek videos, colorful clouds, trendy music, young faces smiling at the camera. Messages designed to reach millions of teenagers across the globe. This wasn't random, it was strategic. The pattern is obvious. Cigarettes turned into vapes. Vapes transformed into heated tobacco. Heated tobacco shifted into pouches, and now experiments are underway with sprays, dissolvable strips, and stylish nicotine patches. The product changes, the packaging changes, the story adapts to the times, but the mission is constant. Nicotine stays in your blood, and your money stays in their pockets. Kids today are growing up in a world where nicotine no longer looks like smoke. It looks like candy. It tastes like fruit. It hides in plain sight. Governments move slowly, corporations move fast, and their lobbyists move faster. Billions are poured into shaping laws under the shiny slogan of harm reduction. But harm reduction doesn't mean the end of addiction. In fact, every time one product is attacked, another quietly takes its place. The wheel never stops turning. Addiction, fear, substitution, profit. So can this cycle be broken? The truth is hard to accept. The only real weapon is awareness. When people understand the playbook, its power fades, but awareness alone is not enough. It must be matched with accountability. Laws not written by lobbyists, media not bought by sponsors, research not funded by the very companies selling the poison. And history shows this isn't new. A century ago, they sold smoking as a symbol of masculinity. Then they sold it to women as a symbol of freedom. Every generation, the story is rewritten. Today, it's marketed as clean technology and a smoke-free future. But the reality has never changed. From smoke to vapor, from heat to pouches, the core is always the same: addiction.